Brom's here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1956, Trip Down Memory Lane. Yes, we were sorting boxes again today and came across some boxes of treasures. So I had to pick out a few because this box was literally full of different stuff. So I picked out a couple of pieces to bring in and show you tonight. And one of them I've spoken to you about before, so now you actually get to see it. Other ones, if you've heard of some of, my first mystery books I started reading, I've got a sample of that here. So just lots of fun stuff and it's always fun going for a trip down memory lane, because when you go for a trip down memory lane, and especially if you've got people around, you can tell them about your trip down memory lane. And it's just the coolest thing. When you're sorting through boxes, and you can find things like, I found a box full of old letters and old cards, and it's got other stuff in there too, so I have to go through and sort through it, because I know some of the stuff's going to get shredded, but then there's a whole bunch of cards and letters in there as well. So some of those letters may contain photographs, I don't know. But then I also, but you can, these unexpected discoveries, you can, may help shed light on family stories. Where did they come from? How did they get started? Maybe they're confirming, things like letters and cards and photographs might be able to help to prove a story or disprove a story. And you could look at things like clothing labels, postcards, handwritten styles to help date the time period that these cards and clothing and handwriting came from, because each era has their own style. You can also reflect on feelings that are associated with rediscovering heirlooms or personal belongings of ancestors. There's those that will trigger you. For me, it's I have, is it one or two? I think I have 2 bottles of Brad's cologne that he used to wear. And every now and again, I get brave enough to go and just spray a little bit and just to smell it. And that just sends me on an emotional roller coaster. So I definitely have that, that I keep with me. And yes, it's going to go to New Zealand with me as well. But yes, it's a very distinct smell, and I absolutely love it. And every now and again, I just miss it so much that I'll just go and pull the bottle out and just give it a little squirt, just so I can bring back a lot of memories of him wearing that cologne. It was pretty cool. But even when you're discovering heirlooms or personal belongings of ancestors as well, some of those can provoke feelings in you, especially if you had a connection with that person. Or that heirloom has been passed down through generations, and so it may not be the first person who obtained that item. It could be the person who handed it to you that you have that connection with, and that brings up feelings and emotions associated with that person. There's different ways that you can properly preserve discovered items. Acid-free boxes are great for photographs, letters, but keep the letters and the photographs separate, because the acid from the paper can help destroy the photographs. So with the photographs, get them scanned, get the letters scanned, so you have electronic copies as well. Some people are sort of like, oh, we'll just scan them and then get rid of them. I'm sort of like, no. If you're going to get rid of them, don't file 13 them, which is the trash can. Do not file 13 them. If you're going to get rid of things like letters and photographs, send them off to an archival place where they can be archived, and especially in documents as well, where they can be archived and preserved for future generations that may come looking for them. And they may take digital copies of them so that they're there and available for other members. I know with my mother-in-law's documents that she has, they'll end up going to one of the historical places that will preserve them and scan them, because some of them because some of the documents originally came from Russia, Lithuania, the Ukraine, that sort of era at the beginning of the 1900s. They could be the only copies in the world. We don't know. And so to make sure that other family members can find them, they will be sent to some historical society after I have scanned them all. I've got to scan them first. So once they're scanned, everything's scanned, they will get sent off to one of the historical societies that are known for preserving documents, getting them online and things like that, so that others can find them. some of the things that you may find when you discover new treasures could inspire new research. Yeah. It could be that you find somebody got a postcard from somebody from a different location, and you thought that that person who sent the postcard was actually living in a different area. Well, were they visiting, or were they, look at the back of the postcard. What did they write in there? Were they visiting that area, or were they moving to that area? Were they providing their new forwarding address, or letting everybody know that they arrived safely and things like that? So that could help you trigger, oh, well, I can't find them in this area. Let me go try this area over here, since that's where they sent the postcard from, maybe. And then you might find that, oh, they actually moved here. Using heirlooms and photographs and letters is a great way to engage other people in the family as well. It can help. You can make out things like shadow boxes with them, scrapbooks, photo displays. There's all sorts of things that you can do, and get the family involved with it. Tell the stories behind the photographs as much as you know. And if you have a bunch of photographs and you know the people that are in there, and you know when they were taken, and you know where they were taken, that's the basic information. Who, what, who, where, and when needs to be put on the back with an archival safe pencil or archival safe pen, so it's not going to bleed through to the photographs, and put on there the 3 basic information. Who's in the photograph? Where was it taken? When was it taken? If you want to do more, like put them in a scrapbook and just put all of that, just that basic information. If you know the story behind the photograph, tell the story. Write the story in the scrapbook or with the photograph that's digitally preserved. Do these sorts of things because then that will help future generations learn more about these people and also add to the family history story. So go diving in your attic, your garage, your storage boxes, and see what pieces of history awaits you. So what is awaiting you in your boxes? This box has not been touched since Virginia. It's another Virginia box, which was 14 years ago. And when I opened it, I was like, oh, we're going to have fun with this box. And there was some of my writing stuff about writing stories with children. Also, and so I thought, oh, that's where those books got to. And then I lifted a book up and I found this book. And this is the Writer's Guide to Everyday Life in Regency and Victorian England. It's from 1811 to 1901. So it's got a lot of information in here about that time period, about how houses were run that had butlers and that had servants, that had household staff. It's got descriptions in here of the fashion of the times, the furniture that they used to use. Anything you want to know is basically about that time is in here. And I will warn you, it is really tiny writing. It is tiny, tiny writing. What was that one? Oh, so this one here's got newspaper circulation. Major newspapers in order of circulation from 1837 to 1850 was the Times, Illustrated London News from 1842, Weekly Dispatch, News of the World from 1843, Morning Herald, Morning Advertiser, Morning Post, Morning Chronicle, Bell's Life in London, The Sun, Sunday Times, The Standard, Weekly Times from 1847, Evening Mail, Evening Edition of the Times. That's the Evening Mail was the Evening Edition of the Times. Britannia from 1839, The Observer, the Evening Chronicle, and the Court Journal. Well, there'll be some interesting stories in that one. So let's see what else is in here. So the chapters cover, and I will tell you this, the person who wrote this book did an awesome job, because not only do they have in here what things were like, they give you a bibliography at the end of each section that tells you where they got the information from. So it's not just somebody thinking about it, but you had things like everyday life, lighting, heating, and plumbing, cooking, domestic servants, home furnishings, fashion, medicine, government, war, and the economy. You had the courts, the military, economics and banking, the laboring classes. And then part 3 is society, arts and entertainment, shopping, travel, etiquette, the pleasure of good society, and mourning, as in somebody has passed. Type mourning with the U in there. Got to be specific on that. But see here at the end of each section, she has a bibliography in here, and this is the bibliography down here, which is awesome. So you can go find. So she's pulled all this stuff together, and so you can find out where she got the stuff from. Oh, even has, this one talks about dancing. Dancing. Ooh, the quadrille. I haven't danced that in years. There's some, yeah, when I was in school, we used to do things like, we used to do like, what do they call it? Square dancing. We used to do square dancing. We learned the waltz. We did do a polka at one point in one class. We also did the quadrille. I remember that name being bounced around. The Virginia Square was another one we did. But terms used by the caller in country dances. There was the breeze, to cast around or turn around another person or by oneself. Dance address, to perform a set step as the balouette or pass. Oh, jeepers, they've got all these French names in here that I'm going to totally balls. I'm going to have to leave that one. I'm going to totally balls that up. Let's see. Doopy doopy doopy. Oh, there's all the military. The time. This one here. Oh, this is good. It's got a timeline in here. This is under military. So you're like in 1798, Napoleon occupies Egypt. Russo-British alliances established. British liberate Egypt in 1801. The first Battle of Copenhagen occurs. And then it goes through all the different battles in the 1800s. Didn't know there was so many. I mean, they've got 1801, 1802, 1803, 1804, 1805, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then we jump to 24, 27, 28, 33, 42, 46, 47, 52, 54, 56. Now, remember, this is all in England. It has nothing to do with the Civil War that's going on in 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 68, 71, 73, 79, 80, 82, 95, 96, and 99. Wow, that's a lot in a century. That covers a lot. Let's see if we can find... So this is under the military section. British wives. British bachelors stationed in India, this is when India was under British rule, took Indian mistresses, but it was understood that these women would be pensioned off should a more suitable English bride be found. This is in the 1800s. Very few British soldiers were allowed to marry, so a majority instead entered into liaisons with local women, with many deserting these women once their tours of duty were up. Some men found wives while they were home on leave. Others chose from among the daughters of other female relations of the European community, whom they met at social functions. Still, other men became engaged before beginning their service in India with their fiancés, then left behind to wait, sometimes for years at a time, while the men went on to India to make their fortunes. If an English couple did marry in India, every effort was made to hold the ceremony in a church and to adhere to the English traditions. The women banded together to make wedding favors, and food and champagne were often ordered from France. Brides wore white tulle, with dresses either being brought from one of the largest stores in India or sent from England by a relative. No doubt many a bridegroom was handed from bride to bride, as they were hard to come by. Many brides who had married in England considered the long voyage to India with their husbands to be their honeymoon. Those who married after arriving in India had short honeymoons at hill stations which were military camps or settlements. Loneliness was a great drawback for English wives, as there were a few other females and opportunities to enjoy the niceties of life, such as paying calls, attending tea parties, etc. They could not volunteer in local charities or hospitals due to the restrictions on mingling with natives. Most European women had nannies or ayahs, to watch their children, as the fees charged by ayahs were relatively low. However, most European children were sent home to be educated as soon as they were old enough, causing still more loneliness for most women. This is in the 1800s. Wow. Your husband goes to India for a few years. Yeah. Oh my goodness. But this book is just full. I mean, look, this is an evening dress from the 1830s. So they have pictures of some of the fashions in there. So this is a really cool book if you're writing historical fiction, to give you just an idea. And then the bibliography there, you can then go and read and get more information. So what else do we have in this pile? Okay, so some of the earlier mystery books I read were by an English author called Enid Blyton. And she had a series called The Famous Five and The Secret Seven. And I loved these books. These I actually got from a secondhand store here in the States. And the books I have is The Famous Five and Secret Seven were all hardbacks. So it was really cool to go back and read these again. But The Famous Five is George, or Georgina. Her real name is Georgina, but she wished she was a boy, so she calls herself George, and she dresses as such. And her dog, whose name totally escapes me. So there's two of them. And then there is her three cousins who are siblings, comes to stay with her. And they go on these. Oh, Timmy's the dog. Julian, Dick, and Anne are the three cousins that come and stay, with Anne being the youngest one. And so the Famous Five is George, Timmy, Julian, Dick, and Anne. And they just go on these great adventures when they come and visit George and stay for the summer or vacation or whatever. And they always get themselves into all sorts of things. Now, the Secret Seven, I believe these are a group of friends. It's been a while since I've... Oh, the Secret Seven is Pam, Peter, George, Janet, Jack, Barbara, Colin, and Scamper. They're all there. There's Scamper. I don't remember a dog being in them, though. And I don't remember I don't know if they're all siblings or some siblings, but if they're just a group of friends. But they had their own little tree hut, clubhouse, whatever, where they would meet. And again, they would go get themselves into some sort of mischief and mysteries and solve them. Another series of Enid Blyton's that I liked was The Naughtiest Girl. The Naughtiest Girl was one that had the biggest heart, and had the greatest ideas and everything else, but nothing ever went right, and she always ended up getting into trouble. This is the third book in the series. They did one each for each term, and she was boarding at Whiteleaf School. And in this particular one, in term 3, she becomes a monitor. So this naughtiest girl becomes a monitor. But she has the biggest heart, and everything she does is done from a place of servitude, but it just doesn't quite go as well as she thinks, and she always ends up getting in trouble. And then the other series that I loved from Enid Blyton, there was the Three Gollywogs. There was the Noddy series. The Noddy series we used to read when we were younger. There was Noddies, and Noddy, and he lived in, I can't remember the name of the town, but his best friend was Big Ears. Apparently those books, the Three Gollywogs and Noddy books, all got banned because of Three Gollywogs was not a term that we're allowed to use these days, apparently. And although I did have my own doll gollywog, which I absolutely loved, I have no idea what happened to it. And I loved reading those stories. And it was just a case of mix up. They were triplets. There was 3 of them. They were brothers. They all looked exactly the same. So they were identical triplets. And they were having the one story I remember. I don't know why I remember just this one story, but one of the stories I remember is that they were having a nap, and one of them wakes up and he goes to make tea, but realizes they don't have any cream. So he walks down to the store to get some cream, and then heads on home. And meanwhile, his brother wakes up, goes out and to make tea for the others, realizes they have no cream. So he sets off to go to the store to get cream, but he takes a different route to the first one. And the storekeeper's sort of like, you were just here getting cream. What do you need cream for again? He says, I wasn't here. He says, I just need some cream. And so the storekeeper finally gave him some cream. Meanwhile, the third brother had woken up, realized there was no cream. So off he set on a different route to go to the store. And they all turn up back at home, each with their bottles of cream. And then they start laughing because, the other two start laughing because the first one doesn't realize that the other two had then followed. And they all told their story about the storekeeper having trouble not wanting to sell them any more cream because they already had 2 lots of cream, and why did they need a third? So then they all went back to visit the storekeeper so that he knew that there were 3 separate people. But anyway, for some reason I remember that story. Don't ask me why. But the other one I love is the Adventures of the Faraway Tree. The Faraway Tree. I've actually got 3 of them here. I've got the Enchanted Wood, which is the first one, the Magic of the Faraway Tree, and then the Folk of Faraway Tree. And there's some other books in the series as well. But basically, the Faraway Tree you climb up to the top of the tree, and there's a gap in the clouds, and these clouds travel across the top of the tree. But living in the tree, you have people like the Saucepan Man, Moonface, and Silky the Elf. And they climb up the tree, and as they climb up the tree, they visit people along the way where they can knock on doors and say hello and all of that. But the idea is to get to the top of the tree, and the clouds pass across the top of the tree, and the clouds stop. And when that cloud is stopped at the top of the tree, you could actually climb the ladder into whatever land is inside the cloud. Now, there is a catch to this. Sometimes the clouds stay there for hours, some for minutes, some for days. So when you're up there having an adventure, you got to make sure you don't lose sight of that ladder, because when the cloud moves on, you don't know when you're going to get back to the tree. So, so these three books here are all adventures about them. This is one where they get to meet Moonface and Saucepan Man and Dame Washalot and Silky the Elf. And these are just the people who live in the tree. And they get to go up into the clouds and go on adventures and everything else. And when they get up there, do they make it on time? Do they get back to the ladder on time? And it's just a really fun series. And yeah, it was pretty cool. What's some of the lands they went? There was a topsy-turvy land they went to one time. They wanted to go there for a picnic on the land of Do As You Please. They say there's really cool land of spells, lands of topsy-turvy, land of Do As You Please. Does this one have any? No, that one doesn't have any on it. Does this one have any? No. So, yeah, you end up having all these sorts of adventures and everything. And then one of the last ones I actually found I had one for 2005, 2006, and 2007. But this one was for a very amazing time period. It's my time period. It's one I remember very fondly. I have a lot of memories about this. And I was flipping through it earlier going, oh my gosh, I haven't seen that movie for a while. I need to put that on my list again. Yeah, there was lots of really cool. But this is the People Week. The People magazine had a special collector's edition. Celebrates the 80s. This is an entire decade. I also have the People magazine for 2005, 2006, and 2007, where they do a year in summary of who got married, who had children, who passed, who got divorced, other events that happened, political, non-political ones, court cases and all of that sort of stuff. But this is for the entire 80s. And I was like flipping through this, and I will tell you the memories that came flying back. I mean, E.T. came out in the 80s. You got Madonna there. There's Oprah, Mel Gibson, Princess Diana, Michael J. Fox, Dr. Ruth, The Cosby Show. You had Risky Business come out during that time, Top Gun. Some of the singers, John Mellencamp, Bruce Springsteen, Tom Petty, Bob Seger. And then you had there was the Olympics in there as well, where we had FloJo and Jackie Joyner, Kersey, Carl Lewis, Mary Lou Retton. Oh, this is great. This picture just cracks me up. Rambo, Hulk Hogan. This was the beginning of WrestleMania. This is when WrestleMania was really high. Yeah, that was very entertaining back then. They actually had a team in there that was called one of those two-person teams, and they're called the Bushwhackers, and they were from New Zealand. And my ex-brother-in-law he had worked out at a private gym, and he went there one time, and the two Bushwhackers were in there working out when he walked in. And it was a private gym. You could go there anytime. Everybody got given a key. You got to go there any time of the day or night. And he had finished a shift. He'd worked as a bartender at the time, and he'd finished a shift, and he thought, I'm just going to go and work out before I go home. He got there, walked in, and there were the two Bushwhackers there. So they had a blast. He had a blast working out together with them. Let's see. Oh, even Evita, Phantom of the Opera, Cats. Those all came out in the 80s. Shows you how long they've been around. I mean, we're on, 40 years now for the 80s? Wow. Oh, remember Crocodile Dundee? Some of you are going to go, huh? Yeah. These are our peeps from the 80s. Whitney Houston, Lionel Richie. See, doesn't he look different than on American Idol? Let's see, who else is in here? Oh, a very young Indiana Jones and Marty McFly from Back to the Future. Love that series. I haven't done a Back to the Future trilogy for a while. I might have to do that. Let's see, who else is in here? Oh, the Brat Pack. I loved the Brat Pack. You had St. Elmo's Fire, 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, all came out of that. Molly Ringwald, Emilio Estefas. Let's see who else was in there. I think Rob Lowe was in there. Andrew McCarthy. Oh, jeepers, I can't read the writing. Murray Wingingham, Judd Nelson, Ali Sheedy, Demi Moore. They say Anthony Michael Hall. What of those guys were in there? In the Brat Pack. Breakfast Club's an awesome movie. 16 Candles. Absolutely love that movie. Pretty in Pink was another one that was from that time as well. And there's Molly Ringwald as she was back then. And she was just awesome. Oh, yeah. Sigourney Weaver and Aliens. Mr. T from the A-Team. Love Mr. T from the A-Team. He was awesome. Oh, my gosh, these guys look so young. Kevin Costner, Richard Gere. Look how young they are. And it was 40 years ago. Oh, Yoda and E.T. Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's just so many memories in here. Cyndi Lauper, Boy George. I think he does the voice. He does the voice in there. Oh my gosh, another one. Mel Gibson, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Oh, and of course, Michael Jackson in Thriller. Oh, you look at this and you're like, what? That was when we also did Live Aid. Was held Live Aid. Bob Geldof put together Live Aid. They had a concert going on in London's Wembley Stadium and Philadelphia's JFK Stadium at the same time. And I was trying to remember earlier. I think it was either Elton John or Billy Joel who actually flew across the Atlantic and performed in both. And this thing, I think it was 24 hours they went on with this thing. It was, but they're raising money for children in India and where was it? Africa. Yeah. Let's see. We had the Challenger, which blew up in 1986. Oh, we'll go back this way. There's more fun stuff this way. We're starting to go the wrong way. Oh yeah, the royal weddings. We had Lady Diana Spencer to Prince Charles, who is now King Charles. Oh yeah, and there she is with the famous dancing at the White House with John Travolta. Actually, Nancy Reagan went up to John Travolta and asked him to go and get her to dance. That's how that one came about. Prince Andrew with Sarah Ferguson when they got married. That was a long time ago. Oh, and then there was the death of Princess Grace. That was in the 80s as well. I remember that. And her children and grandchildren. What else we got in here? I've got the Kennedys and their social engagements and weddings and everything that were going on at the time. This is Carolyn Kennedy here on her wedding day and her Uncle Ted ready to walk her down the aisle since her father was not around at the time. Ronald Reagan was president during the 80s. The fall of the Berlin Wall was during the 80s. Let's see, we've done that one. Madonna. I loved her in the movie Desperately Seeking Susan. She was awesome in that. She had some really good songs back then too. Let's see. Oh, Imelda Marcos and her shoes. She had hundreds and hundreds of shoes. But this is just all different. There you go. Christy Brinkley and Brooke Shields. Look how young they look. Yeah. They were young once. We were all young once. The Iacocca. I was trying to remember. Wall Street. Let's see, what's that one? Oh, Tom Wolfe. This is another bit here with Donald Trump. He started on the page before. Let's see what else is in here. That was one of his books I read. There was something about Lee Iacocca I really liked in the 80s. I can't remember what it is now. Oh, here you go. Bill Gates started Microsoft in the 80s. And I still remember when I was in the Air Force, I was working in publications production, and we were using a program called WordPerfect, and absolutely loved that. And then Microsoft Windows, and then Microsoft Word came out, and we had to switch to that. I hated it. I still really don't like Microsoft Word, but that's what I have to deal with these days. So, oh my gosh, Oprah started her show in the 80s. There you go, Diane Sawyer, Vanna White. Look how young they are. Like I said, it was 40 years ago. So this is just a book. This is just a thing going back through the Sandra Day O'Connor when she joined the Supreme Court. She was the first woman to do so. And there's Margaret Thatcher, who was the British Prime Minister. Here's two legends. Tina Turner and Whoopi Goldberg. Sorry, the light's shining on it. But this is just full of, here we go with the TV show and movies. Richard Simmons, Dr. Ruth, Dustin Hoffman as Tootsie, Shirley MacLaine. I mean, these are just such, Dustin Hoffman, if you've never seen Tootsie, it's a great movie. I love that movie. Then you had the soap operas like Dynasty with John Forsythe. You know, he was the voice of Charlie in Charlie's Angels, the original Charlie's Angels. Then you had Dallas, Knots Landing. Is that one? Flamingo Road. No idea what Flamingo Road is. Never watched that one. But I did watch some of Dallas, and I think I saw some of Knots Landings. Then we had great movies come out. Oh, my gosh. Dirty Dancing, one of my all-time favorite movies. La Bamba, another great movie. Flashdance, another one of my all-time favorites. Footloose. What do these three have in common? They got dancing in them. Hot Guys and Dancing. Cheers, Moonlighting, General Hospital. But that one was for the wedding of the century. Then you had the couples like Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith, and Burt Reynolds and Lonnie Anderson. They were married at the time. Let's see. Ringo and Barbara Bach, Billy and Christy Brinkley. Oh my gosh. Baby Jessica, the baby that fell down the well and took ages. They finally able to rescue her. Baby M. Now this was a huge court case. There was this couple had a woman who was a surrogate mother for them. Then they ended up having this huge court battle as to who the baby actually belonged to. Yes. The Boy in the Bubble. There was actually a movie that John Travolta starred in called Boy in the Bubble, but I think that one was in the 70s. But this was a real life boy in the bubble. He basically had to live in this bubble because of the type of cancer he had. Oh, here you go. Family Ties, Family Ties, Michael J. Fox right there. Let's see. Michael Keaton and Mr. Mom, great movie. 30-something, didn't see that one. 3 Men and a Baby. I mean, look how young they all are. Makes me feel old. I used to watch all of this. 3 Men and a Baby, great movie. Let's see. Oh, Risky Business came out in the 80s as well. Look how young Tom Cruise is back then. I know. You're probably going, what? He doesn't look like that. Yeah. And then you had Miami Vice with the cool clothes. Everybody copied that style. It was interesting to watch that. Let's see. What else do we have in here? Oh, bands, yes. Wham, Genesis, U2, The Police, Duran Duran, David Bowie. Oh, great music. This is music I grew up on. It was awesome. This is when Rock Hudson passed away in the 80s. And then, of course, we had he was actually the first celebrity to pass from AIDS. This is when AIDS and HIV came into the forefront. And then you had these Keith Haring and Ryan White. A lot of celebrities knew who Ryan White was at the time as well. They would embrace him and have him at concerts and things like that. Karen Carpenter died during that time. She had an incredible voice. And I'm not sure who Gilda Radner is. But she was on Saturday Night Live. Obviously had a wacky thing. She was in the film Hanky Panky. It's Always Something. And it doesn't really say. So she was an actress. Okay. But, this is a great book that will take, if you've got a book like this, that's about a decade that you lived in, especially this one from the 80s, because that was my jam. That was, the time where, I was a teenager during the 80s. Had a lot of great times, great funs during the 80s and everything else. There was a lot of transition for me during the 80s. 81, I had my very first boyfriend. We went on our very first date to see For Your Eyes Only with James Bond. I got hooked on James Bond at that time, and then later went back and saw Sean Connery as James Bond, and that was it. He was my James Bond from then forth, from that moment forward. But Roger Moore was in For Your Eyes Only. That was the first one that I saw. So I was in high school during the 80s and left high school and joined the Air Force in 84 and at the age of 17. And so then from then on, it was, I was in the Air Force, and all the girls that were there, they were all into all of this as well. And we just had a blast doing all of that. And so that was a great blast to go to. And I got to have a really cool conversation with my mum and dad today for my New Zealand birthday. So I've started my 48-hour birthday celebration. So in New Zealand today, because New Zealand's a day ahead of us. It's my birthday there in New Zealand. So I've been getting lots of birthday wishes from my family and friends in New Zealand. And tomorrow I get to celebrate it here in the US as well. So I get a 48-hour birthday. So I'm kind of actually, I'm going to call it 48 hours. It's only 4 hours off. It's actually 44 hours because New Zealand is currently 20 hours ahead of us. So I actually get 44 hours, not 48. But 2 days. I get to celebrate for 2 days. So anyway, with that, I am out of here. Don't forget, we've got our holiday gifts sale going on at the moment. Pay for the Explorer package, which is 3 hours and get 6. Pay for the Voyager package, which is for 5 hours and get 10. Great gifts, the gift of family, and that is doing the research for you. If you scroll further down, you'll find the Navigator package, which is where we assist you doing your research. So when we do the research for you, we become your genealogy mentors. So with that, go scan the code, buy a fantastic, did I show you what it comes in? It comes in a personalized envelope. It comes with this great card here with this on the back. And up the top here, it tells you what's included in the package. And here's the gift certificate here. And down here where it says valid till, this one says August 2025 because it was from the one we did earlier. It will say 30th of June 2026. So they actually get 18 months when you do this. And then they just need to scan this code to schedule their discovery call with us. They get it in our new logos over here too. And they get a 1 hour discovery call plus the 6 hours or the 10 hours research time that we will do for them. Because that 1 hour discovery, there's a lot of ground we've got to cover during that time to get everything set up and all of that for them so that we can make sure we're researching the right things that they want researched. So with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m.